Abhay, welcome.
Thank you so much.
It has been while we were catching up in the lounge, but great to know that an organization like TVS is looking at experience, because which tells me that the traditional organizations have really woken up to the fact that the experience and the consumer experience is changing. So I guess while this is about the topic is about out of the basket. Uh, let's basically talk. I mean, when I talk about experience, I think we as consumer, you are consumer, I am consumer, and I think now is an era where the consumer experience is universal, irrespective of the industry, irrespective of the country or the region that you are part of. At TVS, what has been your perspective? I mean, how you have seen the experience really change? What are the customer expectations that are there from a brand like TVS?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samir. And very interesting yet difficult question, right, to summarize. Previous group at large is a 100-year-old company, right? So as you, or a group of companies, like you mentioned. So it's been a evolving journey for TVS. I think auto industry at large has started to gradually evolve into the digital experiences side a lot more over the last few years. Prior to that, experiences were prima facie looked at from a perspective of delivering meaningful products in the form of the bikes that we sold, and better, I mean, good post-sales experience in terms of them visiting the dealership and beyond, right? But I think it has since then migrated towards a more omni-channel experience. Uh, Consumers today are no longer looking at just visiting a dealership for the hunch of it and exploring bikes there. They are looking and exploring a lot of these products online first, right? And then post understanding a lot of data points around the products and comparing them is when they land at a dealership to then take a test ride. So across the value chain of the consumers, right, or the whole journey, we realized there are so many touch points, about 18 touch points, for example, in our EV journey, where we realized that digital experiences can play a very significant role. For example, today, if you see, there's a startup called as Auto Capital. Auto Capital is working with a lot of automotive players in the country today. Uh, with a suite of products, but one which is specifically of interest to me is test rides at home, right? Unlike some of our competitors who are new age companies who started digital first, we already have a very expansive network of dealerships across country and across 75 different countries outside of India as well, right? So for us, we had to look at digital experiences from a very different lens. And it's come to a place where we're talking about personalization, we're talking about a multi-channel approach towards interacting with consumers and providing experiences which are more meaningful for them, which allow them to take decisions in a more effective way. And I think that is where, for example, if we talk about a new age company, product like an EV, iQube, about a year and a half back, we were at about 2.2% market share. About 6 months back, we were at 21% market share, right? So in a span of 12 months, we went from 2.2 to over 21% market share, right? Now that is possible because EVs as a product today are more digital first consumers that are tapping into that, right? And that's where we started looking at differentiating ourselves. So one of the recent examples that, from my perspective, that we launched was for Apache RTR 310 launch, and we deployed a live commerce experience, and we saw about 15% more sales as a new channel, right? Which was pretty interesting for us because no one really believed that, apart from the traditional routes of online bookings and dealership visits, that, can we get some more sales? And I said that, this is a very easy, low-hanging fruit, and we should just tap into it. Now, interestingly, when I was presenting this at the leadership offsite about 6 months back, I was under the impression that this is a TVS first. As the TVS has done this for the first time. To my surprise, we realized that it's not just TVS first, but two-wheeler first. And then someone told me, no, it's not just two-wheeler first, this is automotive first in the country. And this is so low-hanging. So as an industry, we need to really progress a lot faster in terms of some of the digital experiences that can be provided. Another such example that I can talk about is the metaverse. TVS Metaverse or TVS Motorverse was launched in October 2022. But those were very basic engagement plays. We had a music concert by a singer called Arman Malik, drew a lot of interest from the younger generation crowd. But then, what do you do post that? You can go there, have a AR, VR experience. You can have a 360-degree of view of the bike and so on and so forth. But now we are talking about launching and relaunching our TVS Motorverse version 2.0. And that is where we are re-looking at a lot of functional elements which are closer to the hearts of the consumers. We've done extensive research around what consumers really want, and we are stitching together narratives which eventually would mean that this becomes a one-stop shop for anything and everything digital for TVS Motor Company.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, what is very interesting when you talked about is, the TVS, I think it caters to essentially two-wheelers. Because the experience was a topic which was more in line with, more of a premium brand or luxury brand. But now the way the things are going, the experience is coming, it has become a norm. You can't get away from it. I mean, every consumer, every brand has to get associated with, basically providing experience, engaging with their consumers, to get for the consumers to get the better ROI for what they are really doing. And I will tell you, I mean, while when we talk about experience, it is luxury brand, it is premium brands, and it is related to something like more traditional B2Cs, right? I mean, the retail. But what we have seen is that even our doctors, they want the same experience as they are, getting from, whatever the mediums that they might be, interacting with. Earlier in the very traditional pharmaceutical life sciences industry, it was all about, the MRs who would go and engage with the doctor. But now what the doctors are saying is like, MRs are welcome, but at the same time, I also want to get influenced by a personalized digital content. And now talking about content, because I think you made a very interesting point. Because, content is, it needs to be personalized. In our recent, basically, study that we conducted, it said that only if the content is personalized, and 74% of the people said that, I will engage with the brand, right? And if it's a generic content, generic thing that gets thrown at you through an SMS or through an email, consumers are less likely to engage. What has been your experience at TVS on this front?
Sure, I think again, on that front, we have been trying to personalize right now. Again, the personalization experience has been in terms of faster CRM experiences, with a lot of data that we generated or that we had from a lot of different sources that is allowing us to personalize every conversation bit, textually or so far textually, right? But one of the experiences that I wanted to bring into TVS, and we are we are already working towards that and should be out very soon, is hyper real AI. Now, most people get confused between hyper real AI and deepfake, right? Today, unfortunately, deepfake is known for the wrong reasons. But deepfake is superimposition of someone's face on someone else's body, right? That is deepfake. Hyper real AI is training a whole body through an algo, and that algo allows or captures the sentiments of a person when they're speaking specific, when they have certain emotional tonalities, the emotional sentiments that they exude on their faces, right? Now, this was something that I first saw in 2019 with Rephrase, which was recently acquired by Adobe. And in 2020, they became pretty famous with the Cadbury ad, a Mondelez ad, not just a Shah Rukh ad, right, for the Diwali campaign. And prior to that, coincidentally, I had done that experiment on myself. So there's a publication called restoftheworld.org from New York, which published an article saying that Ankur Warikoo and Abhay Tandon are two corporate leaders, corporate Asia leaders who have their own hyper-real AI avatars. So I tried that on my own, and my avatar was able to speak on my behalf with any text that you enter with almost 2 minutes or 5 minutes render time. At that point in time, I was working for Lowe's, and my perception was that how do I replace chatbots with hyper-real AI bots? Unfortunately, that was a North Star metric, and I couldn't get to there because the kind of compute capability that you would require, right? Lowe's had about 25 million customers every week that we were catering to. So if you had so many concurrent chats open, the compute capability would have been very high, and probably even an Amazon and Alibaba couldn't manage that. But so eventually from chatbot kind of a use case, we migrated to a more influencer marketing use case. Now, TVS has presence, as I said, in about 76 countries, including India. And this is what we are trying out, right? Regionally, every person requires a more personalized approach towards understanding what their problem statements are. Now imagine if a person has scrolled your website and you're able to, basis that metadata capture, they're stuck at choosing the right bike model, or they're stuck at the financial option step, and so on and so forth. These videos can be curated and customized to every consumer, saying that, hi Abhay, hi Samir, we noticed that you were looking at an Apache RTR 310 black version, so on and so forth, and you wanted to understand a little bit more about the financial options available to you. Can you click on the below link for us to get on a call together and discuss it out? Right? So it could be as personalized as this, or it could be something which is more generic on YouTube. With Mahendra Singh Dhoni being our brand ambassador, maybe we could try out something like a campaign, and we're potentially working towards some of these kind of campaigns as well, which is more, not, it's not one-to-one, but one-to-many, but it's very geolocalized. So for example, in Bangalore, there's an area called as Koramangala. I mean, most of the places in Bangalore are jammed, unfortunately, because of traffic, but Koramangala a lot more, right? So for example, if you are opening your laptop or mobile phone and looking at YouTube, the geo-targeted ads would say, and I'll probably take the liberty of speaking in Hindi about this, because the ad is going to be targeted in Hindi, and it says that, you know, Mahendra Singh Dhoni saying, just like जैसे मैं क्रिकेट पिच पे इधर से उधर भागना पड़ता है हम लोग को बॉल पकड़ने के लिए, और कोई भी बॉल गूगली आती है whatever, right? उसी तरह लाइफ के ट्रैफिक में भी अगर आपको जल्दी रफ्तार पे कहीं पॉइंट ए से पॉइंट बी पे पहुंचना है, तो आप जाइए कोरामंगला में 13th मेन पे टीवीएस शोरूम में और and buy करिए टीवीएस जुपिटर, hypothetically. I'm just saying, I'm just creating a script on the go, right? Now these kind of geolocalized targeted messages, and you know you're already in Koramangala and you're seeing a Koramangala ad, which is, and you know, TVS has about 3,000 plus dealerships across the country, right? So you have in every region a dealership, right? So you know that, you know, you can target consumers basis where they are and get them to the nearest dealership. So these kind of personalized experiences are also being created using new age technologies. Plus you have a lot of async and sync channels. And then, as I said, metaverse as well, right? Metaverse, again, you know, the basic crux of it is that every personality is it's a unique personality, right? So you don't want to get look at metaverse the way a lot of other players are looking at metaverse, right? Where they have about 20 different avatar possibilities and they choose one of them, right? We were talking about how do we personalize metaverse. So we said one is, of course, the avatar has to be hyper personalized, but not just the avatar. Every apparel that they wear to the kind of showrooming experiences that they have. Why can't I connect a user's Spotify or YouTube music to the metaverse so that the playlist that they typically would like to listen to, that is integrated to your metaverse? The showroom could be a grungy garage showroom, it could be a highly polished showroom depending upon what you would prefer your showroom to look like. Right? So how do we personalize every aspect of their interactions inside the metaverse and make it hyper-personalized? So a lot of these things are being discussed, and we're working towards getting something out very soon on that front as well.
No, no, fantastic. I think, let me throw more data points, because while the experience, as I said, is universal, what is interesting also to basically say that, that around about 74% of the folks have used multi-equipment devices for them to develop the purchasing decision, right? Similarly, 87% of the folks in our recent studies basically also says that, I am influenced by a social media to really buy, to make my, choices to really buy, right? So I think, when we talk about, the experiences around it, there are, in other industries, in the retail industries, the concepts which emerged, during COVID times especially, are becoming a norm, right? The concepts around, BOPIS, buy online, purchase or pick up at the store, or for that matter, BORIS or BOPAC. They were literally, foreign terms or unheard of terms in the Indian industry. But now these things, because the consumer experience is changing so much, These things have become a norm for any of the consumers to really engage with that particular brand. And I will tell you, I mean, and you were telling me about an experience that of the live commerce, where you had you had an ad running, and boom, there basically comes across a link saying that if you really like the ad that is running over there, you can click to buy, right? Now, I think, that is the experience that we are really, talking about. And I think, many of the brands are aspiring to really, get there. I'm very glad that someone like TVS has taken that leap jump into that particular foray. But has it been recent, or is there a North Star that has been set in the industry, in your organization? How are you looking at digital? And the second question is, while it's great to say that, let's basically cater to the consumer experience, but you and I know that how difficult it is for the change and drive the entire organization and gear the entire organization towards meeting that, change happen. How has been your experience in tackling or basically gravitating the entire organization to really meet the North Star that has been set to us by our consumers?
Sure. So I think there have been I won't say it's very recent, but it's been going on, it's been evolving, but there's been a lot of momentum that's been built over the last few years, right? And personally speaking, I think one key addition, one key influencer in that ecosystem is Sudarshan Venu, the new managing director. Sudarshan is probably 34, is probably more adept at everything that I see at TVS, as compared to most of the other department heads that I've seen as well. Right, so he has been gearing up for this role for a while, I suppose, and when he has taken this, the center stage, he has brought in a lot of fresh energy to move forward into the new age technologies. It could be quantum computing, it could be digital and AI, and so on and so forth. For example, our digital and AI team is about 350 people strong. So there's a lot of energy and momentum that's being built up over the last 5 years towards getting into the new age technologies. Earlier, these technologies were being leveraged. For example, when I came in about 2 years ago at TVS, to my surprise, I was seeing robotics and drones and whatnot at our campus in Hosur. Right, and I was very surprised. I saw a robotic arm, a 16 feet tall robotic arm, being used for spray painting of paints at, I think, 75% paint transfer efficiency. And they already had LLM or strong algo, which was refining the parameters to get it to 90% paint transfer efficiency. And I was like, wow, you're already doing this stuff. Why am I needed, right? But of course, it was very, very heartening to see that, on the outside, to the outside world, all these experiments, all the kind of technologies that we've been leveraging is not really visible. But I think the bigger change is on consumer front, how some of these experiences can then be translated to the consumer side, right? Now, this is not easy. It's challenging because you have to change the mindset. So about 5 years back or 10 years back, we would have told any internal member in an automotive company that, digital has a very strong role to play. I think most people would have just refuted it point blank on your face, saying that, it's a hardware play, right? It's all about manufacturing and supply chain and distribution. There's nothing about digital in automotive. Elon Musk was a pioneer in that space. People said that EVs can't look fancy. You can't have over-the-air software updates which can really change the look of the cars, right? And he changed that. Now, when I came in 2 years back, I spoke about the same. I said, in the previous company, I worked with graphene as a nanotech, nano component, right? And material sciences. Why don't we have a single layer, single film of graphene painted on your bikes, and on your app, you can change the color of the bike at any point of time, right? You want to go on a date, a youngster wants to go on a date, the bike color can turn into purple or red or whatever, right? You want to use it for official purpose that can be black or white, and just by the click of a button on your mobile phone. So a lot of these changes are happening. It's gradual, but I think it's also important to do it gradually in certain cases because the company is so large. We are no longer a startup. We have a social sentiment score. And it's a public listed company. So unlike a lot of young startups in the space, we can't take decisions which impact our perception of the company with the shareholders. For example, And I will not name the competitor, but there have been a lot of battery fires with the competitor, right? And that was because they were looking at a faster GTM, right? They wanted to make sure that they are able to turn around on the revenue bit as soon as possible, and understandably so. But the problem is that, there are kids sitting on the bike with their parents when the bike battery fire has, the battery fire has occurred. People have fallen off the bikes, so it's caused danger to the consumers. At the cost of the consumers, you're talking about faster GTM. We did not take that approach. We took a lot longer in terms of running our simulations through our simulation engineering softwares. And even though it took longer, and that is how, if, for example, in EVs, we went from 2% to 21% in a span of 1 year because of our strong distribution. So it has to be a combination play. Second thing is, I was literally having this conversation with the marketing head at TVS, and I said, I see some of our competitors having billboards across the city, and almost every city that we go to. Why don't we have billboards of TVS? And he said, we don't need to spend those marketing dollars because anyways our sales are increasing. Second thing is, because we are a public listed company, we can't be expected that our managing director stands in front of a bike and dances in front of a bike just because we have launched a new music system on the bike, right? A competitor could do that because it's not a public listed company. Their social sentiment score is in negative red, like majorly red. Ours is positive, it's green. It's not amazingly great, but it's growing month on month, quarter on quarter, right? So we have to be very conscious about how people are perceiving us as well because it's a public listed company, right? So these changes have to be brought in, and a lot of those acquisition news and stuff still shock people in the ecosystem. Like I was talking to someone else and I said that, we are working with Swiggy, we have acquired, two large e-bicycle players, SEMG, EPCO, and Ego Movement, three of them actually in Europe, which makes us the largest e-bicycle player in Europe. And people are like, really? I'm like, yeah. The partnership with Swiggy, Zomato on the B2B side, and people are like, really, you've already partnered? Like, look at the fleet that Swiggy and Zomato are using. They're using our bikes. And people are always shocked because they just didn't see those things coming, right? And because traditionally or conventionally, TVS has been a very traditional company. So that we don't go out there and announce a lot of these changes, but then those changes are happening gradually and bringing about a change in our consumers' lives.
No, no, fantastic. I think, and that drives the motion or the notion internally within the organizations to really, when they see, all these new trends catching up with the brand. TVS has been, in my view, has been pretty much at the forefront in really driving these changes. See, it's like, when we look at it, I think, the first thing I always keep saying to our clients across industry is that one has to have a North Star. One has to have, you don't do digital, don't do commerce, omni-channel just for the heck of it. Just because, everyone else is doing it. If you're doing it, might as well have a North Star painted. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a vision, no one is going to drive towards it, right? Once you have that, vision painted out, because as I said, experience is universal and irrespective of which brand you really deal with. Once that vision is painted out, then it is about ensuring that how do we, get about doing it. I think, yeah, someone is really liking my talk because I think the music started playing now. But, but I think, once the vision is painted, then it takes roundabout, in my view, 5 levers to meet that change happen. The number one is you got to have, your operating model changed, right? Because, yes, as you rightly said, TVS or any traditional organization, very channel focused, and suddenly a new channel is coming up. How do we ensure that, things are taken care of, the KPIs and the KRAs of the folks are aligned appropriately, the capabilities are stacked appropriately, right? Number two, which is the most important part in this entire journey, is to have a robust digital platform or a technology, platform to be there to really bring that experience to life, right? How the consumer journey needs to be there on your platform. How do we envisage that journey to really play it out? And what are the enabling technologies to really ensure that that really happens? You talked about the Apache. I keep coming back to your example, because beneath that, someone must have thought about that, okay, here is the journey that is really happening, and as people are looking at that journey, they would want to be very keen on clicking on this button to really buy, right? So someone has to really think about it so that, the technology can bring it to play because the technology is available right now. Third aspect from my perspective is let that be social commerce, e-commerce, your any channel. It throws in a lot of data. And there has to be a wherewithal within the organization to really capture that data, right? Which is where the analytics, come into play. And now we are in the era of Gen AI, right? But analytics becomes your basically third thing. Number four is because it will also tell you where the journeys are broken. It is not about just capturing the consumer sentiment, but it is the last thing you would want to do is have a great, getting people attracted to your channel, which is, digital commerce, and the journey getting broken. And that leads to basically bad experience, and hence they will not associate with the brand. So it's like, where exactly the journey is breaking up, that needs to be there into play, right? Number four is once, the transaction has happened, the delivery needs to be seamless. And we did not touch upon the point around the hyper, localization or the hyper delivery part at this particular point of time. But again, if bad delivery means bad experience, means consumers are not going to basically get associated with it. And number five, which is required, is a huge change management effort within an organization, a lot of communication, and that communication needs to be from the top. Because unless and until that happens, this transformation is very difficult for any organizations to really actually, take part into it. So that has been my view, and I think we are just a couple of minutes away from closing our session. You talked about metaverse. Let me ask you, is metaverse here to stay? Or it's a dying trend?
I think the current versions of metaverses that we have seen do not have value propositions. They are just PR events, right, for most enterprises, and I think that's what they've done. I've seen other auto companies talk about launching their metaverse experiences with NFTs, and then that website has nothing new to offer after the first instance that you're there. They are not transactional. So what do you do on those metaverses? That's the problem that I see with metaverses. I personally feel that metaverses are going to evolve significantly. For example, I was at a MasterCard payment summit and I realized that, today you don't have to really bother about, a Web3 metaverse if a MasterCard or a Visa is already partnered with them and you can, enter your card details. And whatever happens at the back end in terms of, let's say, a crypto-based purchase or a fiat currency-based purchase, for you as a consumer, it's just a transaction that's happening because of a credit card, right? There's going to be a lot more personalization. There's going to be a lot of value creation. So for example, in TVS, it's a group of companies that I also look at, right? So can I not integrate TVS, create a digital passport, vehicle digital passport, right? Where they have all the information, they can get their bikes picked up for services on the metaverse. They can purchase new bikes, they can purchase insurances, they can take loans, they can buy real estate, because these are all different TVS group companies, all integrated into one. So when they come in, they have a lot to do in terms of the value proposition that they can actually be utilizing both in the real world as well as the digital world. So it cannot be limited to just the digital world experiences. It has to be conveyed or cut through both the physical and the digital world. For example, we have something called as TVS Racing. TVS Racing is the #1 factory racing team for the two-wheeler segment in India for the last 25 odd years. Petronas, which is a F1 player, is the only has sponsored only one entity in India, which is TVS Racing. Right? People do not know much about it, but why don't we leverage metaverse to put TVS Racing out there, where people can experience racing in the digital environment, but people who are purchasing NFTs can actually get physical benefits out of that in the physical real world as well. Right? For example, why can't they go out on a dinner date with the top racers in the country? Or go and get free passes to attend a lot of these races, because there are a lot of racing enthusiasts out there who are consumers. So I think we're going to go transcend beyond the digital world into a physical digital world kind of a reality, a physical world reality on metaverse, and that's when metaverse will actually be meaningful for consumers. Otherwise, there's no stickiness to it.
Correct. So my honest view is, metaverse, the verdict is still not out as yet. Right? I mean, because we are changing in an ever-evolving consumer experience. So metaverse, the verdict is not out, but changing consumer experience, I think a lot more that organizations have to really do to really get there. And I think, the experience is here to stay. I mean, we got to actually engage. Otherwise, the customers, there are other brands out there to really, engage with the consumer, and you got to, one got to actually protect their turf. And the only way to do it is providing them with a superior experience. On metaverse, let's basically wait and watch.
One last comment on metaverse, right? My perception, personal perception, is that metaverses will eventually replace websites. Whatever you can do on a website, 10x of that will be possible on a metaverse in terms of consuming data, in terms of interacting and transacting with data, and other potential peer-to-peer interactions as well. So eventually you will not have interactive websites. You'll have metaverses replace them. This is my perception.
Exactly. So let's basically wait and watch for that evolution to happen. Take care. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure, sir.
To having a chat with you.